Hello YouTubers, welcome back to the second part of our International 434 PTO clutch repair. In the first part we made this splitting rig to make the job a little bit easier. This time we'll dismantle the tractor, roll it apart and reveal the problem. Job number 1, disconnect the battery. And remember, earth terminal first. On this tractor, International Harvester had the strange idea of bolting the air cleaner to the inside of the bonnet. So if you want to take the bonnet off, you've got to remember to disconnect the air cleaner. Drain the hydraulics by removing this connection pipe. It didn't look like it had been off for many years, so we ended up using a sharp knife. The oil doesn't look very good either. The filter's not too bad though, I've seen worse. The fuel feed pipe from the tank needs disconnecting. I'm surprised it wasn't leaking because it's loose in the bottom of the tank. The tacho cable needs disconnecting at the engine. And next I waste 10 minutes disconnecting a fuel pipe that I thought was connected to the fuel tank mounting but turned out to be part of the engine assembly. If you've ever struggled to remove a tapered steering knuckle, this is how you do it. I was shown by a wise old man many years ago. He also told me to leave the nut on by 2 or 3 threads so it doesn't fall in a heap on the floor. Now we're taking off the pipes to the hydraulic pump that pass from the front of the engine through to the oil tank at the back where we disconnected earlier. Unfortunately, the studs on the suction pipe are absolutely seized solid, and I really don't want to shear one off, so we'll go to plan B. There's no plug in the wiring between the front and the rear of the tractor, so we'll disconnect everything at the front and pull it to the back. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit you with the cable. Whilst we're just here, we'll remove the starter motor. We're almost there now, but we need to get to 2 bell housing bolts underneath the diesel tank. You can't get at them unless you do something with the tank, so I thought I'd lift it off. That's the front strap gone. And the back one, and now I'll just try and lift the tank off. It won't come off, there isn't enough room. Okay, I think we can get at it with it held up in the air. Get the breaker bar in. And the same on the other side. Now all we've got to do is remove the rest of the bell housing bolts. Before we go any further, we need to put some stops under the front axle so that the engine assembly can't tip over when it's disconnected from the gearbox. Just the last few bolts, and then we'll be able to make an attempt at pulling it apart, no doubt discovering some of the bits we've forgotten to disconnect. We just ease it off the register pegs with a short bar, and then it should come away quite easily. And success! Finally we've got access to the clutch and we'll find out what's wrong with it. The splitting rails work perfectly, although I'll reserve complete judgment until we try and put it back together. We run the 6 bolts out of the flywheel with an impact wrench so we can get into the transmission clutch. I'm sure somebody's been here before. This spigot bearing's in very good condition and won't need renewing. To gain access to the PTO clutch plate, we need to compress the clutch assembly to take the load off all the pins and bolts. So we get it under the press, and here we're removing the clips that hold the toggle pins in place. And then we add some spacers so we can compress the springs. Now we've got the load off the toggle pins, we can knock them out to release the toggles. Once the pins are out, we can let the pressure off the clutch assembly, and then we can remove the thrust plate that pushes on the thrust race, and then we can recompress the assembly to complete the removal of the toggle arms. And in this condition you can see there's no load on the toggle arms, so we can undo the lock nut and then unscrew the fixing bolts. As you watch me do this, you'll wonder why I'm only using one hand. It's because I've got my phone in the other hand and I'm talking to a member of the International Harvester Club who is giving me advice on how to get it apart, and in particular the settings for when I come to put it back together. Thank you, David. And finally we uncover the part we've been looking for, the PTO clutch. Oh my goodness me, look how rusty that is. No wonder it didn't work. I'm guessing some of you are wondering where the coil springs are. Well, on this type of clutch it uses a Belleville washer for each clutch plate, and there's one of them. So let's have a look at what we've got. Here's the main transmission clutch plate. There's nothing really wrong with it. We could put it back in, but it is slightly worn. But here's the PTO clutch plate. Look at the difference. That hasn't spun inside that casing for years and years and years. The plates that go either side of the clutch plate are also badly rusted and badly pitted. so we'll have to do a clean-up. That looks better. Now we'll do the other one. You can see the pitting on this plate as I tip it to the light. I'm really tempted to put it in the lathe and skim a bit off it, but I don't want to upset the geometry of the clutch, so I think we'll leave it alone. I don't think it'll be a problem. So that's it for part 2. If you've enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll be back again with another instalment where we put the clutch assembly back together and hopefully rejoin the tractor.